On Saturday, June 29th, from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., the public was invited to view the collected specimens, talk to the experts, and learn about the biodiversity of the Upper Delaware River. We find out what they found out at BioBlitz right now when we go out in the open. Out in the Open is brought to you by Dunkelberger Sports Outfitters, Mountain View Realty, the Lake Region, Greentown, and Lighthouse Harbor Marina on Lake Wallenpaupack. There is only one place to go on Lake Wallenpaupack for all of your fun on the water, and that's Lighthouse Harbor Marina on Route 507 Greentown, where you find Pocono Action Sports. We rent 8-passenger Bennington pontoon boats, fishing boats, ski and tubing boats. Rent one of our 3-passenger Yamaha jet skis. We're the only marina on the lake offering parasailing. We sell used boats, new Monterey family boats, and Bennington pontoon boats. Visit us on the web at PoconoActionSports.com or call 570-857-0779. Lighthouse Harbor Marina on beautiful Lake Wallenpaupack. Hey folks, welcome to this edition of Out in the Open. I'm Alex Zidock.
And I'm Joanne Zidock, and we come to you from Dunkelberger's right here on Main Street in Stroudsburg.
Yeah, we're still here.
I know.
Not for long. Pretty soon we're going to be moving down to the new store, the big store down in Broadheadsville.
You keep saying that, and I can't wait till the first show down there because long's over. Here we are.
Well, we said that a couple of weeks ago to kind of give the people a heads up.
Right, so they can look for a different background, and if they want to come visit, they can come visit the new store.
Absolutely.
Oh, I get it.
But you know what? While we're here, we're still selling all the product we have here. Hunting, fishing, boating, camping, and everything you need for the great outdoors.
And then we go ahead and get new stuff, too, because this store is staying open. It's going to be, like always, packed full of good stuff for you.
Packed with all kind of things.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And
great
that
sales.
one's packed, so I mean, you can go any place you want. Here
Absolutely.
we're going to be.
Yep. But I think staying here is going to be the women's department and the men's department. I think those fashion departments will still be here.
Right. I don't think they're going to do fashion departments there. That's right.
But they are going to have down there a much expanded line of Carhartt clothing.
And ladies' Carhartt.
And lady Carhartt and all those kinds of things. So we're going to have a ton of stuff down there too.
I think that's good because I think Carhartt's doing some really nice things with ladies' clothing right now.
Yep. And you know what? Right now we've got some great deals on camping equipment. Got a lot of camping equipment. We still got some kayaks and canoes, things like that available. So come on over here to Dunkelberger's on Main Street.
Some of the tents.
Pardon?
I saw some of the tents too. They got some really nice
tents. Absolutely. Got all those things here. And live bait and everything else you need for fishing right here at Dunkelberger's on Main Street in Stroudsburg. So we got a great show for you. We did a show on biodiversity of the Upper Delaware River.
What a nice
And you know
thing.
what? They did a BioBlitz. Which was really great. And they've got so much information. We're going to have it in 2 parts.
Okay.
We're going to have part 1 today. We're going to have part 2 next week.
Oh, okay.
So that you can get a kind of a good feeling for it.
So you get the whole picture.
The whole picture.
I like that idea.
Yeah, we like to give the whole picture of the outdoors, and you get it here on Out in the Open. So don't go away. We'll be right back. Hey folks, welcome back to this edition of Out in the Open. We mentioned earlier we talked to some folks who were really instrumental in doing the Upper Delaware River BioBlitz. You know what a BioBlitz is?
That's what they did on the Upper Delaware River.
Well, you remember, we did one in Monroe County, remember? And there's a tie-in actually to that, as you'll find out. But the BioBlitz is like a 24-hour snapshot of all the creatures, animals. Oh, well, he'll explain it to you. Let's go out and we're going to talk with Steve Schwartz, and he's going to tell us all about the BioBlitz. Hey folks, we're talking with Steve Schwartz, and he is was the coordinator for the BioBlitz that happened on the Upper Delaware River. And quite an exciting time. Steve, how did you come about doing this BioBlitz? I mean, whatever got you started in doing the BioBlitz? Where did this all come from?
Well, I attended a BioBlitz last year in Monroe County. Monroe County does a BioBlitz every 2 years, and I thought this was a great event. I attended as a small part of the mushroom team, and if he can do it down here, why don't we try to do it up in my neck of the woods, up in the Upper Delaware? And I started talking to people, and started talking to friends of mine and people involved in other organizations, and other people thought it was a good idea, and it just gradually picked up some steam and support. And you know, the neighborhood that I live in is a very interesting area. I live on the Delaware, up near where it starts in Hancock, New York.
When you say neighborhood, you know, people are visualizing houses and buildings. Actually, when you say neighborhood, your neighbors and friends are wild animals, right? I mean, you don't have a lot of.
I don't have a lot of.
You don't have a lot of close houses in your neighborhood.
It's a very where I am on the Delaware. There are very few people that live there. There's in my township, there are 525 people living in 44 square miles. But there is a very broad diversity of life, and I came to really appreciate it and wanted to share it with people. So the idea of doing a BioBlitz and trying to expose all of the different things that happen there really appealed to me.
I guess we should explain what a BioBlitz is.
A BioBlitz is an event where scientists get together, in our case, 9 teams of scientists representing different forms of life, get together for 24 hours on a particular piece of property, and they collect, identify, and catalog every single living thing they can find on that property in 24 hours that's visible to the naked eye.
Turning over rocks and stumps and looking through bushes and
out in the stream, kicking up rocks, netting aquatic insects, setting up traps for terrestrial insects that were of various types, with lights and with pheromones, and going out and collecting all types of plants and mushrooms, and we had an entire team just devoted to mosses and lichens that found 90 types of mosses on the property in 24 hours. So there were 9 teams. The scientists that comprised those teams came from all over. There were scientists from Pittsburgh, from Harrisburg, from Stroudsburg, from Philadelphia. There were scientists there from New York, from the city, from Ithaca, from other places. And each team was composed of 3 to as many as 12 people, and they had a tent that we designated the base camp. And so each team had a table in the base camp where they would bring, that was their headquarters, they would bring back the things they had collected. They would sit there with their reference materials and their microscopes and their various other tools to try to identify the things they got. And as they would identify them, they would record them in a log, and then over each table we had to highlight the kind of competitive nature of the event between the teams. We had these numbers that they could, every time they identified a new species, they could change the number. So, you know, over the botany team, which is by far the biggest collection of specimens, they ended up with over 450 things. There was a little bit of a competition between them and the insect team. The insect team is actually the largest, and
well, the botany team is a plant team.
The plant team, yeah.
And the insect team, of course, there are more insects probably.
Yeah.
The insects are going to be here when we're all gone, right?
So, yeah, no, the insect team, they found over 450 things. The botany team will end up being about 300 things. The botany team, a member of the botany team was a scientist named Ann Rhodes, who is a national treasure. She wrote the book on native plants in Pennsylvania. And she retired from the Academy of Sciences, but is still very active. And she was out there for 24 hours during daylight, dressed in full waders, up in the woods, in the fields, on the river, collecting, and was a key part of the whole process. The insect team, the entomology team, brought an entire 4-H club. So there were adults and kids in the 4-H club, and they were out there with nets and all kinds of things during the event. And then we have photos of them pinning insects to various boards, and the collections process was adopted for each team. So in general, we told people, we don't want you to take anything from the site. But different teams had different processes. So the insect team asked if they could take all of the insects they collected back to the Academy of Sciences in Philadelphia. So the insects from the Upper Delaware will end up in the museum collection. And whereas some teams just took photographs, the bird team, just documented through visual observation and other signs.
And they just made notes in pads.
Right. So all together in the 24 hours, and we don't have the final results yet, but right now, all together in the 24 hours, the teams collected 1,033 different unique species in 24 hours.
1,033 unique species. And this is all from an area that was how big?
The site is 65 acres. It's at that confluence of the East Branch and the West Branch of the Delaware. It's bordered by Sheehawken Creek, the West Branch of the Delaware, the main stem of the Delaware, and PA Route 191.
So it's a big area. And how many acres was it?
65
acres. And how many total people did you have there working, collecting?
The teams were about 65 people total. There were about 25 volunteers from various organizations. The steering committee was composed of organizations like the Delaware Highlands Conservancy, which was also the physical sponsor, the National Park Service, the Delaware River Keeper, the Northeast Pennsylvania Audubon Society, the Delaware Highlands Mushroom Society. There were about 12 different organizations on the steering committee.
So we had this biodiversity up on the Upper Delaware River with the BioBlitz, and we're going to come back with more after these brief messages. Hey folks, welcome back to Out in the Open. Of course, we're doing the BioBlitz.
That's right. It's always interesting, isn't it?
People don't realize.
Right, in that little space, all those things that can happen in a little space of time like that, in a little space of water, a little space of air. There's just so many things going on.
It wasn't a little space. I think it was like 44 acres or something like that. But that's a little space compared to the whole area when you think about all the bugs and animals in that little space.
It is a little space, and there's so much going on there. You walk by, not even a clue.
But Steve Schwartz is going to fill us in some more about the BioBlitz. Hey folks, welcome back. We are on the porch of the Delaware Highlands Conservancy, one of the major, the major sponsor, coordinator of this event. We're talking about the BioBlitz, and with me is Steve Schwartz, and he was the coordinator of the Upper Delaware BioBlitz. Again, for those people who may not have heard in the beginning, the BioBlitz basically is a snapshot, 24-hour snapshot where you collect things.
It's the goal of the BioBlitz is three things really. It's to collect data during a 24-hour period, and that becomes a snapshot of all the things that are living on the particular property in those 24 hours. But it's also an opportunity for the public to come and see the things that have been collected, as well as to tour the site, talk to the scientists, and learn more about biodiversity. And finally, from the point of view of the scientists, many of these guys are out in the field all the time, concentrating on their very specific small area of biology. And they may be butterfly specialists who know 3 orders of butterflies. But this is also an opportunity for them to get together with other entomologists as well as scientists from other parts of biology. And one of the things I've learned in my experience is that many things support each other. So mushrooms grow in specific habitats with specific trees. So it's an opportunity for the mushroom guys to get together with the botanists, the plant people, and to see if there are mushrooms or plants that are growing in the same place.
Steve, it's taken us a lot of people to do this and put this together. You mentioned some of them, and we mentioned at the opening of this segment that the Delaware Highlands Conservancy was actually the group that the umbrella, that was this umbrella group for for all these organizations.
Well, the Delaware Highlands Conservancy played the role of fiscal sponsor.
Okay.
So they collected the donations and managed the finances.
Who else was involved?
There were many different organizations. National Park Service played a key role. They supported the event logistically. They helped recruit some of the team leaders, which is really the most important part of the whole thing. And they also provided some funding for the event. And the Delaware Riverkeeper was involved, the Friends of the Upper Delaware River, the Delaware Highlands Mushroom Society, the Northeast Pennsylvania Audubon Society, and some of the funders included the Wayne County Community Foundation, which provided a key grant. The property itself is owned by the Norcross Wildlife Foundation, and they were incredibly supportive of this event. They opened up the site to the scientists and the public. They helped us with logistics, and they provided some key financial support for the event. And for them, they're going to learn a great deal because the scientists have not only given us a catalog of all the things they found, but in some cases they have done further analysis. That the botany team has done a floristic quality index of all the plants and what are native and what are non-native and what are rare and what are common. And that provides interesting and important information for the owner of the property to use as they manage the property in the future.
Let's talk about some of the surprises that you found out, or that they found out. You mentioned that in the botany group they found some plants that were...
Well, the botany group uses a software program to develop this index, and what they found was that some of the plants that were identified on the site had never been known to exist in this part of Pennsylvania.
Wow.
The insect team, one of their comments was they were very proud of what they had done because of the daunting diversity of insects, the sheer number of different species. To identify almost 500 species in 24 hours is a huge undertaking. And they found over 100 different types of moths on the property.
How do they collect the moths? I mean, what do they do? That has to be done at night?
They had various traps. They had light traps using ultraviolet light. They had pheromone traps. They had traps that were basically passive tents that they would put on a piece of property and just see what crawled into them. They had an entire tick demonstration with various things. One thing was called the tick flag, and it was just a piece of cloth they would run through the bushes, and then they would take it and they'd comb through it looking for ticks. And they had a thing that they dragged through the grasses. And each team had its own way of collecting and identifying, but these were world-class scientists who have had a lot of field experience. The fish team had been looking in this area for probably 25 or 30 years and had written a key, the leader of the fish team had written a key paper on the bridle shiner in 1975. So they all weren't unfamiliar with the area, but this was an opportunity for them to go back and reconfirm their results and see if the things were still there. and reconnect with the places that they were familiar with.
If people are interested in finding more information about what went on, do you have a website?
Yes, the website is Upper Delaware BioBlitz.com. There's also a Facebook page. And all of the findings from the event will be published there and available to the public for, as long as the website stays up, which we hope will be forever.
Is there the possibility that you're going to do this again?
There's a lot of interest in doing it again. The teams had a lot of fun. The organizers enjoyed the event. The public enjoyed the event. So we're in discussions right now. The basic idea is that we will try to do it every year, maybe alternating along the river corridor, 1 year in Pennsylvania, 1 year in New York. So if we do it in 2014, it would be on the New York side of the Delaware.
Fantastic. And the National Park Service was very, very instrumental in, in this BioBlitz. And we decided that there was just so much information about the BioBlitz that, well, we had Steve on to talk about basically what the BioBlitz was all about and who took part in those kinds of things. Next week, we're going to have the National Park Service on. This is kind of like a two-part series, as I mentioned earlier. And so what we're going to do is we're going to have the National Park Service on. And we're going to talk about the national park system and how it attributes to the Delaware River, the Upper Delaware River, the lower, their presence on the Delaware River, basically, and how important some of the work they're doing. We're going to talk about that a little bit. So you won't want to miss next week's show. This is going to be a kind of a continuation. Steve, really appreciate you coming on and taking up this task of doing this BioBlitz. I mean, it had to be extremely interesting for the people who were just involved a little bit, and all the findings and everything else, as you said, will be published. So we're going to look for all that information, and maybe we'll take a mushroom walk one day.
Okay, good. Well,
all
thanks,
right.
Alex.
Thank you. Pleasure.
Yep.
Folks, don't go away. We'll be right back. Hey folks, welcome back to Out in the Open. Hope you enjoyed the show about the BioBlitz. And next week, we're going to talk to someone from the National Park Service. And that's an interesting story in itself. I mean, you won't want to miss it.
I think it's very, very interesting. I'm coming back next week too.
Are you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to be here too. Hey, let's tell them about this. The Game Commission says that...
I thought this was very interesting about signing up for the Game Commission on their website at www.pgc.state.pa.us. You can sign up for their newsletters. You can sign up for education releases. You can sign wildlife watches.
As an example, if you missed out on the antlerless deer license, it's a situation where if you forgot that you were supposed to send your tags in, they would send you reminders before that. So that's a good thing. I mean, it tells you when the seasons are starting and all those kinds of things. So that's a good deal.
And all the things with the reminders. I think that's great.
What was the website again?
www.pgc.state.pa.us.
And we're putting that up on the screen for you, so you can sign up for that and get all your reminders from the Game Commission.
Right.
Hey folks, hope you enjoyed the show. Don't forget, next week, part 2, the Upper Delaware River BioBlitz, and we'll be with the National Park Service. So it'll be a good show. We'll see you then, because we're going to be here, we're going to be there, we're going to be on the river, maybe even fishing.
We're going to be out in the open.
Absolutely.